Welcome back to the next installment of the Substack Live series, Starting from Zero. And today we're going to be talking about what if the community that you're looking for actually starts with you. And this was a conversation that when I headed to Substack, Julie was one of the first people that appeared on my timeline where I was like, I need to connect with this incredible lady. So we did what we know to do, and that was to get into each other's inbox, and we had a Zoom session. And before we even knew it, it was like we had two twin flames talking the same things but in different parts of the country, which was incredible. So today's session is with Julie Marvel, and she is an incredible community building expert. And that's not just about the professional networking, it's also about friendship and finding your place and not actually being the community builder yourself, but actually welcoming you home into this beautiful space. So Julie, I would just love to find out a little bit about your background. I'd love you to introduce yourself, because you have been like building communities offline via Facebook with like 10,000 people around there, and then in-person events where there was like 500 people there. So you know a thing or two about building community and what that means. So I'd love to hand over to you to give us an introduction to anybody that's not met you so far.
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. And I just want to say what you're doing is incredible. And you and I are kindred spirits. We're living in that same space of the importance of community and how valuable that is to everyone, really. But primarily, we're focused both on the same demographic, which is women getting into that midlife stage and really looking for a sense of community and connection. So I live in Naples, Florida, and my history is always going into the next chapter. My Substack is called The Next Chapter, and I'm on another version of The Next Chapter. But what that really looks like in my past is I started as an elementary school teacher. I have a master's in education. I was a family photographer for many years. And then after that, what happened was I'd been in a very long marriage, and I experienced a divorce when my kids were in school. They were school-age children. I started going through a divorce. And during that process, what I realized is that I had lost my sense of self. I had lost my sense of community. I was really looking for who I could turn to at that time. And it occurred to me that I didn't have anyone that I could really rely on, because I had been so immersed in taking care of the kids, taking care of the family, doing my work, the home, everything that's involved for women. We're always giving to someone else, and we tend to neglect ourselves. And through that process, we sort of lose our sense of self. We come out of it, and the dust settles for whatever transition that looks like for you, like divorced or widowed or empty nest or retired, and you realize this has happened. It's almost like you didn't even notice it was happening. And so what I decided to do, instead of going to therapy or life coach, my first step was to find friends. And so the way I did that was I went on Meetup and I started a lunch group, and that lunch group developed into a larger community. And I did that for 8 years. And so I don't know if you want me to expand on what that looked like, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in. I'm all in. I'm like, it's like I'm getting a cup of tea, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm listening.
Yeah, so it's kind of a unique experience. What I did was I started on Meetup for myself. And I think that's what the success of it came from, was this organic need for friendship. And I tried a couple of Meetup groups first that weren't the right fit for me. And what I realized was the demographic was really important. And it doesn't mean you want to exclude people. What it means is you're looking for the people who are in the same phase of life as you, right? So if you say, oh, I'm going to do a lunch group for every single person in the entire 100-mile radius for anyone and any age group, it doesn't bring people that have commonalities together. And so the first name of my meetup was like women between the ages of blah, blah, blah that live in this town. And that was the name of the group. But because I did it that way, it really honed in on, we attracted like-minded women that were going through similar experiences. And so what I learned through the first 2 years was I was talking to women every single week. We would have a lunch and I would have conversations with new people every single week. So I met thousands of women and I saw a pattern. And the pattern really was this transition of women reaching a certain age. Typically it's like 45 and up, where they're going through empty nester, widowed, divorced, retired, moved to a new area, or loss of a loved one. And that's when this happens. They're like, what happened to me? Who do I want to be? What kinds of things do I want to do? And who do I want to do them with? And how in the heck am I going to find these friends, right? And so I noticed that this continued to be the same story over and over. And so it really started to grow. And what eventually happened was we brought on women that wanted to step up and be leaders and volunteer to host their own events. And so what they could do is they created their own concept of what they wanted to do. And so we expanded from lunch into lunch, happy hour, dinner, walks on the beach because we live near the beach. We did book clubs, we did dance classes, art classes, you name it. We were doing everything, pickleball lessons, a walk on the beach, walk in the woods. You know, we were doing everything because each of the leaders kind of picked a thing that they were interested in doing, and then they would just do one a month. And so it really grew into a business. And then I created a website. We had a mobile app, and our Facebook group grew to about 10,000 women. We had about 500 women coming to our events, and we were doing events 5 to 7 days every week. I wasn't doing them all, but that's how many we were doing. So it just created a real sense of community. And we do live in an area that's transitional. It's a sort of an area where people are snowbirds. They come from up north and they retire here. So there is a lot of women that move to the area. And so it's pretty, it's really a place where women are looking to make friends. Yeah. But that's kind of the history of how I started doing communities.
It's just fantastic to see how it grows, but also just by you saying the number of events that you were doing, it just shows what women are craving, or what, that we are all craving to find our space. And there's just a few examples that I'd like to add into that as well, of like moving across the country and not having any friends. Yeah. So I just wish that I had met you at the very beginning of moving here to America, because I was just like craving exactly what you're saying, but it wasn't available. And so this is the difference in I think it's in who we are as people, of like, it wasn't available. So I had to actually like find it, source it, and create it for myself, because I thought that then that needed to be something that somebody else needed as well. So what I actually did was, we live by the beach as well, and there was just this walking path, and I actually now call it manifesting lane, where you go and it's like, but it goes adjacent to the beach, and you walk down and you release everything that's on your mind, and then on the way back you set your intentions, and it's just a really magical walk. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to create a poster. I'm just going to say let's do like walking Wednesdays, and it's for women like 40, 45 plus, that we're just going to go, no pitching, no sales, not networking. We're just going to walk for a mile one way and a mile the other way. And like 15 people turned up on that first walk. And, and then since then, those ladies they've traveled the world together. They went to Italy. They're planning these things, and that's nurtured great friendships for them to have. And many of them, they have time during the day, but I'm in the studio and I'm working, so I can't join everything. But seeing what that does, that even if you don't see something outside, to be able to create something for yourself is incredible. And like you say, there's a craving for it, that in whatever capacity that looks for you, whether it is doing something like what you're doing, but also just seeing something like that on Eventbrite or Meetup or those places, like just thinking, what if I meet my person at that next place? And I think that's a great thing. And we touched on a conversation as well about it being the right place. And I think you've got a real focus right now around like genuine friendship as opposed to professional networking. So can we touch on that for a little bit as well?
Yeah. So what I I have done a lot of professional networking. When I was working as a family photographer, obviously that's the kind of career where you do need to do professional networking. But when I started this group, my group was called the Fabulous Ladies of Naples. That's what we called it. And when I was doing that, what I learned very quickly was that there's a subset of women that don't want professional networking for whatever reason. So maybe they're retired, maybe they're not working, or maybe they work in a corporate position where they don't need to do professional networking. So while professional networking has its place and it's wonderful, and I've done it, there are lots of women that are actually turned off by it because they don't want to have business cards handed to them, and they don't want to buy products. They just are looking for authentic, genuine friendship. And so it was differentiated in the way that I did it. This was based in friendship and community only. There was no professional networking allowed. And that was actually a benefit because there's lots of groups in our town that do the professional networking. Women were seeking out the difference where they could just come and find authentic friendships and really just know that that wasn't going to happen for them. So I think that was an important distinction that we had within our organization.
I think that's really, really important. And that was actually the point of the walking group as well. It wasn't to sell anything to anybody. It was just to find a group of ladies that you could just catch up this week, and they could talk about tennis, they could talk about a meal, they could talk about all of the things, and then they have become this biggest support network of everything else that happens. Because then when an intimate gathering does take place, or there's a dinner or there's something, they are the first people that are there, and you've never sold anything to them, because then it grows a real trusted support that they know that it comes from a really place of encouragement and friendship in a way that you want to be there for that person. And so
doesn't it warm your heart when you know that you've sort of you've assisted in them making their friendships? It's just like you didn't really do anything, but you know that you gave them the assist that they needed. And so, I do think that there's people that are able to build communities, and there's people that aren't comfortable doing that, and they would like to find a community. So those are like two different ways of approaching community. And so I think for someone like you or for someone like me, we kind of live in the space of, oh, we're creating all the time, and that's our comfort zone. There's a lot of women who aren't comfortable creating community. And so for those women, I would recommend looking for a community that would serve you. And so the way you do that really is thinking about what your interests are. So for example, I have not participated in this, but I know right now that all the trend is Mahjong, these Mahjong groups. I don't know if you've seen that.
That's huge. Yes.
I see it everywhere. And so it's like something like Mahjong or pickleball or a book club or walking group or a lunch group. Like those are things that if you enjoy doing that activity, now you're going to be around other women that enjoy the same thing as you, at least one thing that you have in common, or tennis or knitting or whatever it is. But if you have that in common, that makes it much easier to start the friendships because you have this one thing that you can talk about and relate to. And so I think when you're looking for a community, if you're not wanting to start one, it's important to find something that brings you closer to the other people that you would be participating with. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense because just the last month, actually, we went to a jewelry making, a bead work. So there's a fantastic jeweler who I am going to interview at some stage because she's just so talented. And she ran a beads, like jewelry making workshop. And she was like, get out your old beads or your necklaces, bring it in. But even if you're not using any of those, bring it to gift it that somebody else can exchange, that you can pay that forward to someone else. And 12 complete strangers sat around the table and brought their jewels and jewelry and all of those things. And we shared and exchanged and swapped. And then this incredible piece of jewelry was made at the end of it that was renewed. And now they've got a connection with that person and they've stayed in touch. So it can be through creativity as well. I've got another friend who's going to be doing a workshop on this neuro art where you just do watercolors on a page and then and it's to do stress relief. But if you're learning and creativity, and it's different, and I think you're so right. It's that it doesn't have to be in the normal places. And if something sparks your interest, it
Right.
sparks your interest for a reason, and you don't know what's on the other side of it. And I know, if you saw my post, I met Nat the other day, who also does like midlife reset, and I was talking, and then she was like, "Wait, are you Long Island?" And so we've met in person now.
I
So you
saw
know,
that. That's so cool.
it's so
I love
cool.
that.
But she did say, because we did a ladies' lunch last month at the Northport Hotel, and she's like, I saw it, but I didn't think that I knew anybody. And I was like, next time you just have to come, because when you're in that like-minded space, it's that you're welcomed. It's that we come into the studio here and we say, welcome home. And I think between the both of us, that's what we're doing here on Substack, is
Yeah.
creating a home feel for women, to encourage them to find their space. And that's not with any expectation. It's not with any hard pick me, pick me, pick me.
Mhm.
This is this open invitation for that. And we're both talking about how Substack is becoming our full-time home because of what it offers, who it offers, and who it's offering to. So tell me about why Substack has become your home, and you've started from zero here to,
Yes.
even though you've got huge audiences everywhere else. Tell me about why that was your decision to do that.
Well, I love that you're asking me this, because right before we got on, I went back and looked to see when I started on Substack, because I had seen that you were talking about when you started, and my first day on Substack was May 6th. So we've started almost at the exact same time. And what my journey looked like in this last year was, at the end of 2025, I decided to close my in-person event group because it had just become so big, and I really wanted to move into the online space and take what I had learned about building community and transfer it into the online space. And through that transition, going into my next chapter, what I learned was running an online business is much different from what I was doing. So when I was doing in-person events, it sold itself. I would post an event, the women would sign up, we would take pictures, we would post the pictures, and then more people would come. That's it. That was the business model, because it was FOMO. People would see the pictures, they wanted to participate, they would sign up for the next one, and it was pretty sell yourself. So I started my online business in January, February with a website, and just it wasn't going like I thought it would. So I'd heard of Substack through journalism, really, is where I've heard, oh, independent journalist on Substack, and so I thought that's what it was. I thought it was like a news platform. And then I interviewed someone for my podcast, and I said, well, what links do you want me to share? And she goes, well, I'm only on Substack. And I thought, well, that's weird. Let me go see. And so I went to her Substack, and I was like, wow, there's all these people over here. I had no idea. And so I signed up, and just thinking it would be fun to kind of build a community. But what I learned about Substack was incredible. This platform is so powerful. I've never seen anything like it before. It's far exceeds Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn for community building. And so for me, sort of going back to what you were saying about when you encourage someone to start, one of the things that became a reason why we were so successful with our in-person events is because we're all trained that within the first 30 seconds, we would always make sure that we welcomed someone that was attending for the first time. Because everybody knows that when you're going to an event by yourself for the first time, you've signed up the week before, you're excited to go. The night before, you're like, oh my God, why did I sign up for this stupid thing? I don't even want to go. And the morning comes, and you're just about to cancel, and you're like, what if I don't like them? What if they don't like me? I don't even know what I'm going to say. What if they are all friends and I'm just going to sit there by myself? Yeah. And so what I learned was that first 30 seconds, you walk up to the person and you say, is this your first time? Oh, we're so happy to have you. Let me introduce you. You're from Chicago. She's from Chicago. You bring in what they have in common, and instantly they feel like they belong. And that was very important. That's the reason why it was so successful, because we created a warm, welcoming environment where everyone right away felt like they belonged. And so I'm trying to really do that same thing on Substack. So I started on May 6th. And what I've been doing is I've been posting regularly. So I'm doing articles, podcasts, and notes. But then what I'm really focused on is the engagement, is replying to every comment, reaching out to new people, You and I connect. I've done this with multiple different people who are in the same space as me to collaborate with. Just send them a message, say, do you want to refer each other? Or do you want to get on a live together? Do you want to hop on a Zoom and just get to know each other? And so it's about the outreach and the engagement. Yes, you want to post and put your information out there and be consistent with your topic. Like, I'm talking about one thing on Substack. I'm not showing cooking and gardening and my daily life. I'm literally just talking about women building community in midlife, starting their next chapter. But aside from that, I'm really focused on talking to people and engaging with them. And if anyone has posted anything on social media, you're sitting there waiting and watching your post, looking for people to comment and like on your post, right? So if you want to make someone happy and you want them to pay attention to you, you go to their post and you like their post or you comment on their post. It's like asking them to be friends. Is when you comment on their post, you're saying, I'm interested in you. I would like to engage with you. I think what you're doing is similar to what I'm doing, and we have a lot in common, and I'd like to open the door for you. And so when you comment on someone's things, or you reply to a comment, or you send them a message, private message, you're literally giving an invitation to friendship. And that's how community and friendship is started, is by somebody has to make the first move. And if you're never going to make the first move, it's going to take you a lot longer, because you're just waiting for someone else to engage with you all the time, and you're never going to be seen. So it's not as hard online either, because in person you really have to get up the courage. Online, it's just a little comment, a little message. So I've been, same amount of time as you, as May. I'm like at 4,200 subscribers right now. And I really haven't started to build the paid section yet, because I've just focused on putting out the consistent content and then engaging with those people. And so now what I'm going to do is, this next chapter is to go a little deeper, to really extend those conversations with the people that are resonating with my content, and kind of slow down, maybe it'll slow down the growth, maybe it'll go faster, I have no idea. But it's more about going a little deeper and really showing those people that this is what we have in common, and I'd love to talk to you more, and sort of like what you and I are doing.
Yeah. I mean, can you tell? I can't stop smiling. I think my cheeks are because I'm smiling so much, literally a soul smile, because it's like you are feeding my soul with, like, I'm surprised I didn't interrupt you with a yes. Because we are for the absolute same reasons. And I think that is why we needed to have this conversation here, because for both of us, I think it has been about that, just being generous, like and again, like we are that person that would go over to somebody that's standing in the side of the room to say, welcome, come on in, you're safe here. And I think that's where the purpose-led posts and notes and everything comes from, and then can be backed up by conversations like this, because just as you're talking about one thing, I'm also talking about the one thing as well, and that is about, it's okay to start from zero, and it is okay. You're never really starting from zero, because you have a wealth of knowledge, wisdom, and expertise to bring you. But that was one of the reasons why I did my first 90 days on Substack, raw, honest truth of, like, these aren't huge numbers here, but they're with intention, and they're with good purpose, and with good reason of what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and the way I'm doing it. And if this helps you too to take the next step, here's my open book. It's my gift to you. And I think that's where Substack is very different from all of the other places where it's sort of like you're actually talking at somebody, whereas here we're actually talking to somebody and listening. And the same, I haven't really promoted any kind of the paid tier, because I wanted to listen, to really listen to what people are needing. You have to excuse the gardeners in the background.
I just had that too. I can't hear my weed whacker guy
echoing what we're saying. And it's that thing of, like, it's okay. It's your blank canvas of opportunity. And actually that's why I'm so most excited when I see somebody's post that says, you're new, like my first day on Substack, I'm in that comment straight away to say, welcome, you are in the right place, you keep going. And I've seen other people that are saying, I've made a promise to myself to post every day. And I'm like, do it, because that was the same promise that I made myself every day,
Yeah.
that I've
Yeah.
never done before, and it's working. And I'm a firm believer is that the universe will only ever hand you what you're capable of handling at any given moment in time. And for me, this is the most engagement, most interaction, the most growth I've had in a short period of time. But it feels in flow because I want to be in those comments. Exactly what you say. You post something, you save a little bit of time to wait to see what comes in, because you wouldn't just say hi and then leave. Actually say hi, leave, engage, and then interact with what that is. And I think we're both really coming from that solid place of a special community, of making somebody feel worthy and of value, and hearing what they have to say. Because ultimately, when it boils down to it, we just want to be seen, we just want to be heard, and we want to be understood. And when you feel understood, that's going to fuel your confidence to post again, or to attend an event, or to be part of somebody else's community. And I think that's the value of making people feel like they belong. And at the heart of it, what we're all doing is creating space, allowing people to feel like they belong, and that something's possible. And so I'd love for you to share some tips that if somebody is new here to Substack, what would be, I know we said about the engaging and being generous, is there a particular tip that you would actually focus on, which is not necessarily about the number, being fixated about numbers and worried about that, about the audience, but actually how they can more focus on community?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not a Substack expert by any means, but where I'm finding success is showing up every single day in the notes. So every day I'm in the notes like 3 times a day, which is, I try to make them short enough where it doesn't cut off, so you can see the whole note when you're on the feed, and the notes go out to people that you aren't connected with. And so that's how you bring in new people. So that's one thing that I found to be successful. I'll write an article like once a week, and I'll do a podcast once a week. I have a bunch of podcasts from before, and now what I'm doing is taking those podcast transcripts and I'm writing articles based on my interpretation of our interview. So I've interviewed women, I'm taking the transcript, and now I'm turning it around into an article about what I thought about the interview, and how what the women talked about on the podcast, how that relates to other women in their life and our experiences that we've gone through. So when I was doing in-person events, I did an event called What's Your Story? And that's what this article series is based on. So what that looked like is I brought in public speakers that had told their story before about a challenging time in their life, but they had told it before. So it wasn't like their very first time. They had shared the vulnerable information previously. And we would bring in about 50 women into a little tea room, and the speaker would get up and tell her story for about 30 minutes. And then at the end, we would do a little Q&A, but the speaker would bring 3 questions, and we would pass the papers out to the audience, and the women would be in groups of 4 or 5, and they would go around and answer the 3 questions based on the theme of the talk. So if the theme was honesty or perseverance or integrity, the 3 questions would be based on that. And then the women would just crack open. The conversations would go crazy. I mean, all of a sudden, you're given permission to talk about shit in your life, right? Like normally we're like keeping it all in, we have to be smiling and everything's wonderful and my life is perfect. But this gave them the opportunity to be like, no, I've had all of this stuff that's been going on in my life too. And same with you, and same with you, and same with you. And we all have it. We all walk in, we're smiling, we're all put together, dressed nice. But guess what? Every single one of us, every single one of the people on this feed right now is going through a challenging time right now, just like I am, just like you are. And so I think it's so valuable to provide a space where not only do we create friendship and we create trust and community, but we also allow the opportunity for women to open up and feel vulnerable. When you think about vulnerability, we think that sounds like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be vulnerable because that makes me look weak. But when you think about when someone else is on stage being vulnerable or sharing their story, you admire that person, right? It's like an attractive quality because they're willing to share their story that resonates with me.
Yeah.
And so I think all of those things are important to community. Yes, it's important to have the introductions and have them be fun and engaging and laughing, but then you also, it's nice to have that opportunity to open up and go a little deeper. And so with Substack, I think you can have the notes, which are light and fluffy or funny or just observations, but then in the articles you can kind of go a little deeper, or even in the podcast. The podcasting on Substack is incredibly easy. It's literally push the button, you have a podcast. It's so easy. Like I did a podcast like 15 years ago, and I had to hire someone, and the intro and the outro. Now I just turn on the microphone and I have a podcast that goes out to all the platforms.
Yep.
So, there's so many different ways of sharing content and engaging in community on Substack. And then you get in the direct messages, and that's where you can, really build the conversation. You can do a group message with all of your subscribers, and you can do individual messaging. And so that's where you can really connect, say, let's jump on a Zoom, get to know each other, and go from there. And I think too, when I did my in-person group, I was tapping into a group of women locally who were looking for in-person friendships, who wanted to go to restaurants and do things with other women. But now in this space, I'm thinking there's millions of women around the world who don't live in a town where they can go and play pickleball or go to a restaurant for lunch group, and they still need sense of community. And so that's why they are online looking for that sense of community, because they don't have access, or they don't have the finances, or they don't know where to go. And so the online space is where you can start to build community with people all around the world. I mean, I've had people from all kinds of different countries attend my events and come online with me. And I just think it's beautiful because it opens it wide open for more people.
It really does. And we had one in the comments who was saying about they started and they're starting from zero, and they've been on for 2 weeks and they're not finding, so how do you find subscribers? And I'm like, that you'll find subscribers as they go, but look at what we've done. Like we joined at a very, very similar time. I subscribed to you, you subscribed to me, because we were aligned with each other. And it's like there's going to be other people that are starting from zero at the same time as you. And I think it's to be there and seeing people, and then that's how you find your people is by subscribing to other people's content.
Yes.
That's a really a takeaway for that as well. But
it's the engagement. You can't create an account and sit there and wait. Like that's not where you're going to get subscribers. You have to reach out and say, hey, I'm looking to be your friend. And then they go, oh, me too, I want to be your friend. Like it's literally that easy. You just open the door and say, I want to reach out to you, and then they respond. And I see there's all these people writing in the chat, but I'm going to put my little lady glasses on to see what they're saying. See, I try to pretend like I don't need them, but I do.
It's just saying that these are amazing ideas, and I'm the kind of a reserved person, but I'd be willing to start my own meetup or a walking group because I live near the water. I've got a walking group and a book group combined that they talk about the book while they walk. Yes,
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's taking inspiration. And I think a lot of the time is knowing that you don't have to reinvent something. You can be inspired by someone or something and make your own version of that. That's because that's your area doing your thing. And I think that there's so many ideas with this. And so at the end of this live, there's going to be a supporting article with how you can actually connect with Julie, subscribe to her content. We're going to have details of all of the tips of what we've shared here as well. But there is going to be a comment section in that where both Julie and I will be in the comments responding to everything that you've put in there. So the engagement that's here is just been phenomenal. So thank you to everybody that has joined us today. It's been I don't think that this is the end of our conversation about this. I think we'll be doing more chats where we can actually encourage more people to find their community in whatever that looks for them. And I think that you belong here. You belong wherever you feel that you belong. And I think that would be the takeaway for today. And Julie, do you have one takeaway that you would like to leave everybody with?
Oh, I can't thank you enough, Sarah. And I'm so glad I met you and so glad that we connected. And it was as simple as, hi, I want to be your friend. And that's my take. That's what I want every single person that's watching this live to take away, is that all you have to do is put yourself out there. Simply ask for someone to connect with you or comment on their stuff or send them, a like or whatever. And that's how it starts. That's how you get subscribers. you create the content, but you engage and they come back and visit what you're doing. And so that's my greatest advice is you can take the first step, and instead of waiting, I would encourage everyone to take the first step into finding their community. And I'm so grateful that we were connected.
It's so grateful. And I just think, how fun is this? It's joyful.
Yeah.
It's a gift to know that actually we get to have these conversations. And I think that if you don't have the confidence to reach out to somebody, put a little bit of a fun twist to it. Make it playful. Make it that you're curious, and make it that like Substack becomes your experiment for all the things that take you out of your comfort zone a little bit further. And I think that you never know what is on the other side of that. And I know that if you was to send Julie a message, or you were to send me a message, I know that we would send some love right back to you.
Yes, send me a message. I would love to connect with everyone that's been watching today, and I will respond. And I'm so happy that everyone joined us. And thank you for having me, Sarah.
Oh, you're so welcome. And so thank you for joining us today for this live series. I will be live again tomorrow, where we'll be talking about a midlife reset, where not necessarily about the health and everything, but actually in life, like this being your time, exactly what you said at the very beginning of this conversation, Julie, of like, you've been focused on everybody else for so long. Like what about this time being for you right now? So I hope you can join us for that. But thank you for joining us for this, and we will speak to you again very soon. Thank you, Julie, and thank you to the community for joining us today. Take care. Bye-bye.